Okay, so we have a brief video today introducing a special order machine. So as you probably heard me say, here at Force Manufacturing, we are the factory. We're building these machines here. So if you have a special request, you need a machine wider, taller. In this case, need the work surface taller, we can accommodate you. This machine is a special order for a customer. They're a good customer of ours, have several machines. We work with them for some special applications. What they wanted here was a relatively large machine, but they want a fixed table. This customer is using this machine more like a pattern cutting saw. Most of our machines, I will emphasize, I like to put the workpiece on a table and have the table move to make the cut. So the operator would move the workpiece, move the table to move the workpiece. You get a straight cut, and the operator's hands are nowhere near the blade when you're making the cut. For some applications, that's not a good fit. This customer is doing pattern cutting, so they have shapes on large pieces of material and they want to work around and cut out the shape, which means a straight line like a traveling table gives you is no good. So we have for them a fixed table. What's more, the work pieces for this customer are fairly light, so they don't mind having a taller table surface. Most of my customers want their work surface of the table to be as low as possible, such that if they're having to pick up or move the workpiece onto a heavy workpiece onto a table, it's a low lift. And then they're moving the table to make the cut, so workpiece height doesn't matter so much. Here, they want the work surface height near waist high, so the operator's not having to bend down to make their cut. So they've got the table up here, a relatively even location. In addition, because they're going to be sliding the workpiece all over this table, we made the table surface out of stainless steel. It's still a carbon steel tubing frame with a stainless steel sheet carefully welded onto the top of it. Give a smooth workpiece so they can slide around, not be worrying about knocking paint off of a painted carbon steel surface or the carbon steel surface rusting and transferring to their workpiece. Another approach for this some other manufacturers use would be to have a wood workpiece table with maybe a piece of plastic over the top, but I don't roll that way. I like steel. So we have pretty generous dimension. This is based on a Model 236. We got about 39 inches of horizontal throat. Operating off memory, I think we have about 4 foot to the right of the blade, 3 foot deep or so. This machine does have some nice additional features. This includes our pneumatic blade tensioning. I don't have the machine powered up right now, so I'm just gonna wave my hands out at all. But control cabinet here includes saw start, the saw stop buttons, and includes a tension detention switch. So inside the panel here, we have a fused disconnect. We're running control voltage of 120 volt AC control voltage. Magnetic motor starter for the blade drive motor with an overload. And since we're using pneumatic blade tensioning, we have incorporated a blade breakage detector. So you're operating, the blade gives up, the machine stops automatically, you get the flashing red light. If you do not have sufficient air pressure, we have a low air pressure switch on here. Again, you get the flashing red light and the saw, if it's running, will stop, or you just can't start it to begin with. This is a typical situation. First thing in the morning, you forget to turn on the compressor, you try to run the bandsaw, there's no air pressure, the bandsaw won't run. Turn on the air compressor, everything is happy. Green light when the machine is running. Now, this does turn into a relatively tall machine. I'm going to take you around back. Sorry about this, but I'm going to move the camera while I'm filming. So you can see the air handling equipment back here. Air line in. We include a quick disconnect for that. This is the air pressure switch, so if you don't have some minimum threshold air pressure, you can't run the machine. All of our 236s include an adjustable guide post supporting the upper blade guide and blade guard. But this machine, because it's relatively tall, we have added a motor to the guide post positioning. In future versions, this will all be incorporated into the main cabinet, but since this was added after we'd already built the main cabinet, we have a second cabinet here. But again, fuse disconnect, and in future this will all be in the main panel, we'll still be using the same disconnect. A set of relays to do smart things, DC motor drive, powering a DC shaft-mounted motor on our otherwise pretty standard guide post socket, crank style guide post socket. So we've got, very simply, up and down for the guide post. There is a speed control for this. We have it inside the cabinet. We don't anticipate you ever actually needing to use it. It does include electronic end of travel limit switches. So as it gets up to the top, it'll hit that limit switch, trip, and stop it from overrunning or smashing into the end. The motor's a little over-spec'd in this version, and we found that if we don't have an electronic stop, we will actually shear a keyway on the worm drive. So that's fully up. On this version, help stabilize the guide post, we have a couple little bitty cute air cylinders in here to help lock in the guide post. We might make some mechanical changes to the second version of this, but right now, when the motor is operating, going up and down, those air cylinders release the clamping force on the guide post. And when I stop moving it, they lock down. We also have some mechanical bronze pucks in there to help stabilize it. The idea being when we're most of the way there, most of the way down, we've got a long overhang load, this thing's pretty rigid. We don't want it bouncing around or being imprecise in its location, because then your upper blade guide is not well located, and that leads to poor quality cuts, broken blades, all the usual bad things. Some more fun things. So we have enhanced the guard package on this machine. The bearings and shafts are covered up. That does mean that for your monthly or so re-greasing of the wheel bearings, you'll have to unscrew the cabinet. There's two screws, tap screws holding these on. You have to pull those off to get in there to grease it. We looked at doing access holes, but an access hole big enough to put a grease gun through was also big enough to put a finger through. So fully guarded, bottom as well, and we have extended guarding. I don't think you can see that. Extended guarding for the motor and drive elements. Usually that's closer to the floor, that you can't get under it, but here, since it's relatively high, we put guarding all the way underneath. The OSHA required guarding on two sides of the blade. Of course, the wheel cabinets, return sections of the blade, lower cabinets are all appropriately guarded. Over here on the back side, so now that you know what's going on, we have, like I said, the low air pressure switch that feeds into the main pressure regulator. Main pressure regulator pretty much just leave 120 psi. That feeds a four-way solenoid valve for the guide post socket. Then we have a secondary pressure regulator here. I'm pointing at things you can't see. So, four-way solenoid valve for the guide post, four-way solenoid valve for the blade tension. This is the primary pressure regulator. Just leave it 120 psi or so to maximize the clamping force on the guide post. And the secondary pressure regulator controls blade tension. We do also have a dryer, air dryer, and an air lubricator in here. The actual air consumption is very minimal on this. It's not like you're going to be pushing 3.5 SCFM through this thing to be very minimal, just as often as you stroke the blade tension cylinder and as often as you move the guide post, plus any leakage that occurs. It's tight right now, but time happens. But that's the general tour. This is the first version. We do expect there to be some refinements to the guide post mechanism on a version 2.0, and of course all the controls for the guide post socket will be incorporated in the main control panel. If you have any questions, please feel free to call or email us here at Forrest Manufacturing. Thank you.